Welcome back to another episode of Gaming Over Hard. You wanna go fast, boy? You wanna break the sound barrier like a blue bird of death? You wanna do loop-de-loops? You wanna roll around at the speed of sound? Got places to go, gotta follow my rainbow! Back in yonder 1992, on Christmas Day, a young silly-looking 6-year-old jackhope tore open a gift to reveal Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the very first game that was purchased just for me and not a hand-me-down from my older brother. Little did I know that this simple little game would truly resonate with me in a way very few games ever managed to do. Okay, so I have fully been indoctrinated into the school of Sonic the Hedgehog, a little fat blue mammal that was given the insurmountable task of toppling yet another fat mammal. By the year of 1991, Mario had established himself as the king of Vidya. You couldn't even go to your friend's house who had a Nintendo without them trying to cram that portly plumber down your pipes. As a society, we demanded more from the idea of gaming mascots, which, let's be honest here, that idea never really stuck. Sure, we got our Mario and our Sonic and our Crash Bandicoot and our Bubsy and our Jesus f***ing Christ Gex. None of these ever came close to the popularity of Sonic or Mario. I mean, was Earthworm Jim ever invited to the Olympics? No, he was not. I'm sure Russia likes the idea of a genetically modified worm in a giant mechanical suit armed to the teeth with guns, but we don't play that shit the rest of the world, Gorbachev. So in 1991, Japan decided to unleash Sonic the Hedgehog to the masses, being bundled with the Sega Genesis and going on to sell like 1 billion copies. We're not here to talk about Sonic 1, though. We were mere dunce-cap-wearing idiots when that game came out, so we didn't know any better. I mean, Sonic 1 had 6 Chaos Emeralds instead of the series staple of 7. No Super Saiyan, Super Sonic. No Tails, no Knuckles, no Knuckles, no Metal Sonic. And it had that awful water level that made me want to slap people for telling me it was a good game. It did introduce the concept of ring collecting in that as long as you had a single ring, you couldn't die, unless you were crushed or fell into an endless pit or glitched through the floor into the electronic abyss, and so on. We're here to talk about Sonic 2! The game that allowed you to move so fast that the game itself couldn't keep up with you. Just think about that for a second. They programmed Sonic 2 to allow you to move faster than the camera was allowed to move. They called this forbidden technique blast processing. And I swear on all that is good in this world, I bought that hook, line, and sinker. As if Sega had somehow broke the mold of game design, creating a digital being that couldn't be contained by the limitations of the console it was being played on. EA wishes they could come up with something so f***ing awesome and ludicrous. Oh, hold on, wait, they popularized loot crates, never f***ing mind. Sonic 2 also brought us the debut of the Spin Dash, the ability to rev yourself up like a motorcycle before rocketing forward in a ball of fury, wrecking nearly anything in your path. Sonic 2 also brought about its Dragon Ball Z reference in a full-on transformation, morphing Sonic from a surprisingly fast fatty into an indestructible golden god that dines on rings like I feast upon various gummy products whenever my wife goes out of town. In order to achieve this, you must venture through 7 increasingly difficult special stages only accessible by hitting one of the many checkpoints in the game with 50 or more rings. They aren't the best special stages in the series at all, but they sure aren't the clusterfuck of an acid trip that was the special stages from the first one. I don't know how many drugs the designers of those stages took, but it was just enough. One more snort and we might have gotten the entirety of Echo the Dolphin crammed into each one of those things. Super Sonic was clearly an afterthought from the developers as the game was not meant to be abused by the wielder of the 7 Dragon Balls, Chaos Emeralds. As Vanilla Sonic, you can reach some pretty insane speeds unseen in the gaming world at the time, but as Super Sonic, you can literally move so fast you f***ing die. Speedrunners have figured out how to zip through tiny pixels in specific spots in order to beat stages faster than you could beat your meat when your parents leave for church. But when Super Sonic comes to town, walls are just mere illusions for you to phase through like you were Barry Allen trying to outrun an increasingly terrible TV show script. They should have come up with a name for the type of blast processing achieved when playing as this dude. Maybe Super D-Tuper blast processing. Instant chili dog movement? Definitely instant chili dog movement. Move faster than the speed of shit. The bosses of the game become an absolute joke. Not that Sonic was ever a difficult series, especially when up against games released in its time, but when Robotnik sees a golden aura ripping through his carefully constructed caverns and chaotic cybernetic citadels, he shouldn't even attempt to hit the self-destruct button because by then, Super Sonic will have already beaten him, freed some little critters, and gotten halfway through the next stage. Another new introduction to the series was the inclusion of Miles Tails Prower. I'm serious, that's his name, and it's one of the first things you see when you turn the game on. Tails was a fully playable character himself and also could be controlled alongside Sonic with a second controller, which on paper sounds like an awesome idea. Two friends could tear ass through the game at blinding speeds, assisting each other in all kinds of cool ways, but no, the camera never followed Tails. So he could disappear off screen and die without you ever knowing how. Tails dying brings no penalty to Sonic whatsoever. So whenever your dumb cousin would come over and your mom would be like, "Timothy, you let your cousin Jethro play the Game Boy!" You just hand that dork another controller and let him pick up rings for you while constantly berating him for not being more efficient at being able to predict where stupid Fox Avatar was. F you, Jethro. Your mom makes shitty cookies. You piss the bed every time you come over and no one will ever love you. Returning to this f***ed up world of anthropomorphic atrocities is the big bad of the series, Dr. Robotnik. Turns out this was just a straight-up weird addition to the translation of the game from Japan to America. His original name was simply Dr. Eggman, which is what I prefer to be called when I'm slinging out breakfast in the kitchen like the god of morning foods I am. The title of Dr. Robotnik seemed to be so popular, it was eventually rolled into the official name of the scientist, finally becoming Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik. Because why not make the naming of a single character as complicated as the name switcheroo jamboree that was Street Fighter II's bosses? But he's so impish and whimsical! At the end of each zone, Robotnik rolls his fat ass towards you in a machine designed only for killing you, which always has glaring flaws. Not as bad as hit the glowing red spot for maximum damage, but pretty crappy nonetheless. I mean, this dude claims to have a 300 IQ, but he can't for the life of him squish a little blue dude. Where he has failed, though, Robotnik has created a cyborg replica of Sonic himself, designed to be just as fast as the chili dog-eating, Sally Acorn-stealing speed freak. He's been recreated a bunch of times throughout the series and has been involved in some of the more memorable boss fights of the whole franchise. Despite Sonic 2 being, let me look at this calendar here, 28-year-old game, kill me in the face, I'm old! It's actually gotten some new life via an updated release on the Nintendo Switch. If you could somehow tell Sega fans from the 90s that Nintendo would be giving them more love than any other platform, well, you'd probably have a bunch of dribbling kids kicking you in the shins. The Switch version now available has included a move from the newest Sonic game. No, not you, Sonic Forces, back in the attic where you belong, you'll get your f***ing fish heads tomorrow! I'm referring to Sonic Mania, a game that I can't possibly start to gush about because it is the best Sonic game since Sonic 2, and I'll fight you to the bitter death under ancient Muay Thai rules complete with glue and glass covered fists. Let's f***ing go, bro. I played a lot of Street Fighter. I'll kick your ass! The technique I'm referring to is the most welcome addition to the Sonic franchise as a whole since the Spin Dash, the Drop Dash, essentially allowing you to charge up your Spin Dash while jumping. The fact that it took them about 25 whole years to come up with this is indicative of the fact that Sega ain't in the console game, and hasn't been for quite some time. Yeah, I'm throwing shade. I wanted a f***ing Dreamcast too, you goddamn cowards! One of the strangest aspects of all the re-releases of Sonic 2 is the existence of the mobile port. In 2013, Sega contracted Christian Whitehead, an avid Sonic fan and creator of some of the coolest Sonic mods and fan games, to create a port of the original Sonic games for the f***ing Apple Store and Google Play for some reason. These ports were prime time, shine time for Christian as he created 60 frames per second true widescreen versions of these classics, as well as adding in prototype levels that were never even finished. The only thing that prevents these from being the definitive versions of the game simply lie in the fact that you can only play these on your phone. Seriously, Sega, what the f*** were you thinking? Making the game widescreen actually changes the dynamic of some bosses of the game, fitting the entire area on a single screen instead of having you move around to see where the boss is coming from. Robotnik's weak-ass attempt at a hedgehog-killing machine at the end of Aquatic Ruin Zone was actually modified so the pillars at the edge of the screen are further away, actually making it difficult to stay on one side after bouncing off that moronic mustachioed madman's stupid little f***ing face. There is no shortage of ways to play Sonic 2 nowadays, including the incredibly inferior port available on almost every system known as the Sega Genesis Collection. These are unfortunate emulated versions of the game which include the bane of my existence, input lag. Simply put, Sonic is a platforming game requiring you to jump a lot, sometimes off tiny platforms while running at top speed. These inferior blasphemous ports are essentially running a ROM of the game, not the actual game in source code originally written. This results in there being a delay in between button presses and the actions of those button presses playing out. For a game about precision jumping, this is f***ing unacceptable! May not be noticeable to the naked eye, but as someone who's been playing these games for quite a while, I've become incredibly sensitive to input lag. I will straight up send hate mail to companies that rock this practice. I'm looking at you, Capcom. I'm coming for that ass, boy! I know what you're all thinking, but what do I think of the music? Let me break it down to you in the most simple of terms. if you haven't vibed out to most, if not all, the OST for this game, you have no soul. You should be banished to that pit and mystic cave that everyone falls into, causing you to either wait till Supersonic runs out of energy and die, or just straight up die if you're a loser who hasn't snatched all the emeralds by this point. In the 2013 Christian Whitehead mobile port, though, this same exact pit takes you to a completely new level based on a prototype that never made it into the full game. In the early 90s, little bastards like myself would stroll into the magazine section of drugstores, walk past the Tiger Beats and Gossip Rags, and head straight to the gaming section, stocked with mainstays of my childhood such as Electronic Gaming Monthly, a precursor to the modern world of gaming journalism that has no real discernible shape nowadays. Hidden Palace Zone was a level listed in one of these magazines complete with a screenshot, but was removed from the game due to space limitations because that was a f***ing thing back in the day. Christian Whitehead ran with a beta of the level Sega possessed and crafted an entirely new level, right at home with the rest of Sonic 2, even ending with a super silly boss that... Wait, what the fuck are you trying to do, dude? Mambo number 5 me to death? Fuck out of here, man, come on. After blasting through most of the game, you find yourself at an auto-scrolling level atop Tails' plane, sailing through the skies and hopefully not running too fast, because you will straight up fall off the wings, and Tails won't do a fucking thing to save you. I guess this is what we get for killing that boy over and over like the ring-collecting schmo he is. Midway through, the baddies stop coming and a giant airship is seen in the background soaring in the sky. This was a pretty cool visual because it is in fact the next level of the game, the final traditional area of Sonic 2, Wing Fortress Zone. As you approach the gargantuan gunship, your plane gets shot out of the sky and you actually have to jump from it and watch as your woodland critter friend plummets to his death. Try and hold your chuckles, and let's have a moment of silence for Tails. Alright, that's done. Let's go tear the good doctor a new egg hole. I remember this stage being notoriously difficult as a kid because it's seemingly a floating maze. It's one of the few times you have to go both right and left. What? There aren't a ton of enemies here, but there are plenty of places a mistimed jump can send Sonic either spiraling to his death or landing on an earlier part of the stage, causing a young Jack Hope to tear up and launch his Genesis controller across the f***ing room like it was an Olympic sport. Supersonic doesn't give a shit about any of this crap and can bypass huge sections with his 25-foot vertical leap from a standing position. It's kind of a joke how much Supersonic breaks the game, but it is super fun playing in a completely different style, as if you were a competent speedrunner caring not for enemy placement, but filled with demented speed lust. Robotnik lies in wait at the very end of the stage, nestled deep inside, protected by a laser wall that you seemingly cannot break. He starts to fire a laser at you from the ceiling while little spiked platforms bounce around the room. This is a nice difficulty spike after obliterating every one of his machines in a hurry. I do recall dying quite a bit here as a kid, but I beat Cuphead once, so f*** this guy, f*** his stupid lasers, and f*** this whole goddamn room. Sonic chases after the Mad Doctor only to helplessly watch him escape on another ship. Turns out Tails isn't dead, and he assists you in trying to catch up to Robotnik, but just has enough speed to get you close enough for you to jump off the plane and grab on for dear life as you literally leave the Earth's atmosphere and enter the Death Star? Egg? Death Egg? Seriously? They got away with that? In the darkest reaches of space, no one can hear you scream, especially not your mom in the other room, as you now have to face 2 bosses in a row with absolutely no rings to protect you. First up is Mecha Sonic, a cybernetic copycat of the Blue Menace that legitimately terrified me as a kid. Something about his slow descent from the ceiling and razor-sharp chainsaw spikes on the back of his head really crumbled up my Dunkaroos, especially not having any kind of rings to rely on. He's relatively simple to beat if you know his patterns like any other boss, but one mistake is all it takes to send you back to the beginning of the stage. Glad they didn't make him into Uncle Chuck from the good 90s Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, which saw Robotnik routinely kidnap relatives and friends of Sonic and turn them into mindless killing machines, because the 90s did not give a fuck about the friendly sugar-coated silliness of the 80s. I mean, they tried with that whack-ass other Sonic cartoon that I won't even post a picture of here because that doesn't deserve any attention. In fact, I'd rather talk about Sonic Underground than that Saturday morning abomination, and that show made Mummies Alive look like X-Men, so let's just fucking keep it moving, alright? After slaying him, you find out Robotnik can somehow run just as fast as you, which is total fucking bullshit, before he hops into the final boss of the game, the Death Egg Robot, which is a really stupid, unoriginal name for this guy. He essentially just looks like a giant robot version of Robotnik, and just like the previous battle, you have no rings, so this has to be done perfectly. I remember taking my time with this guy as a kid because I thought I had to avoid his spike arms at all costs. But after watching some speedrunning legends, turns out you can stand behind him and make him regret not programming his final attempt at killing you to be able to just turn his dumbass around. You still have some fire to avoid and some weird Eggman bombs that may end your run, but about a dozen smacks to this jerk will cause the whole thing to fall apart. Sonic runs off as the entire Death Egg starts to go up in flames because I guess all final bosses have self-destruct sequences for their lair built into their hearts or some crazy shit. And Sonic literally jumps out of an exploding spaceship at the very last second. I have no clue how this dude is still alive, but Sonic survives atmospheric entry and doesn't turn to dust and even manages to get saved by Tails again before landing and partying with all his furry little dorks you've saved along the way. If you've acquired all the emeralds by this point, Sonic just bursts into Supersonic and flies alongside Tails in the plane. Why the f*** couldn't you do that on the Death Egg, bro? Are you f***ing serious? You got 50 rings hiding up your ass you couldn't tell me about? F*** you, bro. You deserved Sonic 06. Thank you for watching Gaming Over Hard, and don't forget to spin dash that like button and slam Tails' corpse on the subscribe thingy, cause it's funny to see him die.